Good evening from Lagos, everyone. I am Nifemi Oguntoye, and this is Beyond 100 Days. You can join the conversation right now on X using hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News On. Now, the senior advocate of Nigeria and lawyer for one of the groups organizing the nationwide protests, Ohanaze Ndigbo, has called for an immediate suspension of protests, saying it's time to dialogue with government as sponsored agents have infiltrated the ranks of the protesters to derail their laudable mission. In a statement released today, Mr. Ndigbo expressed sympathy for the losses incurred during the protests, including the death of security personnel and protesters, as well as property damaged. He commended the protesters for their peaceful conduct in various locations across the country. However, he emphasized the need for dialogue, criticizing government for ignoring the protesters' demands and failing to engage with them. He's also called on President Bola Tinubu to directly address the nation and engage the protesters' representatives. Mr. Ndigbo urged the protesters to suspend their actions and give room for meaningful dialogue, warning that the protests had been hijacked by fifth columnists, leading to further losses and casualties. He concluded by commending Nigerians who participated in the protests and those who showed solidarity through peaceful civil disobedience, emphasizing that no leader should take the people for granted. So it's day 2 of the nationwide protest, and the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says the military will do everything possible to protect the peace in the country and ensure protests across some states in Nigeria do not degenerate into anarchy. General Musa at a press conference said if the police cannot handle the security situation, military troops will be deployed to assist them.
We realize that this destruction we're doing, monies have to be used. Monies for development will have to be used to repair this thing so that we can move forward. And so instead of doing that, we should come together, make sure nothing is destroyed. The statement, the message has already been passed to the federal government, the state government, and the local government. Armed forces and the entire military security agencies will not stand by and see that to continue. So we want to warn those that are recalcitrant, those that don't want to listen, that will not fold our hands and see our country to be destroyed. We will take action, and the action we'll take it professionally. Anyone that is caught will be taken to the courts to be dealt with. It's important for them to understand that working together as a team is what we require. The security forces cannot do it alone. We need all Nigerians to put hands together to make sure we succeed. And we stop these criminals from taking advantage.
Also, the Force Public Relations Officer, Ohanaze Ndigbo, says the police is concerned about the nature of the nationwide protest in the country. Mr. Ndigbo says the police force will ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order during the demonstrations, as officers have been placed on red alert.
Concerned about the dimension this protest is taking, because if we notice what happened yesterday, just barely 2 hours into the protest, we have recorded many ugly incidences across the country, and particularly in most of the major cities, where we're having cases of looting, attacks on police officers and other security agencies. The IGP has made it clear yesterday in his live broadcast that we are on a red alert. All officers and security agencies across the country have been put on red alert to make sure we don't report any ugly incidents anywhere in Nigeria again.
Well, we covered day 2 of the nationwide protest here in Lagos, and we also witnessed the interaction between police personnel and protesters at the Ojota area of the state.
2 years ago, there was no breakdown of law and order. I want to assure you now that there will be no breakdown of law and order. Whoa! We are here to give you security. We are here to protect you and to ensure that there is no infiltration, that hoodlums does not infiltrate your ranks to cause chaos here. We have seen responsible Nigerians here, and we know that you are here working in line with the Constitution, working in line with the law, and will give you protection. Be rest assured that will not hurt you.
Senior correspondent Sarah Yeko just got back from Ojota. She's right here with me in the studio. Sarah, yesterday we saw the senior police officers, wearing their red bands.
Yeah.
And we saw them on the field again. Talk to us about how it played out today, because they said they are on red alert. Did you see the reddish nature of policing? Well,
we saw that they were really ready to, of course, ensure that to ensure the protection of these protesters. As at 8 a.m., although the protest didn't start on time, we're expecting that to start about 7 a.m. So at about 7 a.m., not a lot of persons were at the Ganifa Park, which is one of the designated points, for the protesters. So we'll give it up to about 8:40. Then we saw some number of protesters gather, give themselves some kind of briefing, and then, of course, talk to the police officers, because the police officers wanted them to go into the Ganifa Park. Now, the danger of the Ganifa Park, just as the protesters have said, is that they have just one exit point. So if they go into the Ganifa Park, if anything happens, they cannot get out on time, and there could be a stampede. So they had all that back and forth with the police officers. So you saw the ACP, Paul Okafor, addressing them and asking them to leave the road, And so at some point they went into the park, but some protesters decided not to go into the park because they were scared. They had cited some security issues and all of that stuff. And then later on, when the commissioner of police, it came like an angel, just to douse the tension, between the protesters and the security officers that were on the field at the time. And so when the commissioner came in, it was more like, we don't want to stay in Ganifa Park. We want to be allowed to protest on the streets. And so there was some sort of consensus between the protesters and the security officers, which is you can only use the service lane. And so for the protesters, it was some sort of victory, although it's small, but then they were very happy that the commissioner of police could listen to them. And so for the interaction between the police and the protesters, it was pretty civil. Yeah. There was no tear gas as we've seen in other protests. And as we even saw yesterday, I think someone was injured yesterday. It was an isolated issue. And this is something that the protesters have said, that they will ensure that this protest is peaceful, devoid of any kind of disturbance from the so-called hoodlums, that may want to infiltrate. And that's what the police actually did today by ensuring that these hoodlums do not infiltrate the protest.
Mr. Governor also had some commendation for the conduct of protesters yesterday. Some have said that Lagosians have learnt from what happened during the NSAS protest, and everyone is careful. Everyone is an advocate of, whatever you're doing on the streets,
let it be peaceful.
Let it be peaceful.
Let it be peaceful.
And one of the lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, Ohanaze Ndigbo, is also asking that they should leave the streets now and engage in meaningful dialogue. Do you see that body language? Do you think that the protesters and indeed the Lagos state government, for instance, are ready to sit across the table to talk?
I think so. Because if you don't have a dialogue, we're at a deadlock. So it's important that the protesters, of course, there was some sort of dialogue we saw today between the protesters and the security officers. We saw that same dialogue between the protesters, among the protesters themselves, because you had the civil society organizations who are like the soli guys, right? And we also saw them, talking to other Nigerians who had joined the protest, asking them questions about, okay, should we extend the protest time? Should we come tomorrow by 7 a.m.? Should we come back on Monday? So there was all the dialogue. So if you don't have dialogue, you can't have anything done in the country. We cannot afford to be at a stalemate in the country.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I see that they want a dialogue. Particularly one of the protesters had said that they're expecting the president to address them anytime soon. So if they already have that expectation, so we're also expecting that the president will say, and the president, of course, has come up to say certain things, of course, through his ministers, through various agencies, and come up with certain economic policies. Now, it's just having that understanding with the people to say, okay, let's give this economic policies some time to actualize. And so that's where we're at this time.
Interesting development. Senior correspondent Sarah Yeko, thank you for the update there.
Of course.
All right, we're going to turn to the southeast, where apparently Southeasterners have boycotted this national protest. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But let me share this cheering news with you, and it's for pensioners. The federal government is now set to commence the payment. I need to fetch the story right now. Of course, it's the payment of the arrears of their pension increment this August. The Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Chioma Ejikeme, says this while addressing some pensioners in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. We have details with Ibrahim Alege.
In fulfillment of the constitutional provision for a 5-yearly pension increment, President Bola Tinubu approved a new pension increment effective January 2024. This appears to be the first time that the federal government has proactively and promptly implemented this constitutional provision. The Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, has now concluded arrangements to commence the implementation of this increment with the payment of the accrued arrears this August.
It has never happened. Before, the pensioners will have to protest and remind and all of that, but this was proactive. This was an intentional complying with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we are intensely and immensely grateful to Mr. President for this.
The pensioners, who are the direct beneficiaries, are quite appreciative of this presidential approval.
I've never seen a time when the government of the day will pay salary for staff or increase salary for staff and pay and increase pensions at the same time. This is the first time the government of the day is doing that.
And we are really impressed by Mr. President Ohanaze Ndigbo. He has been trying to take care of us, especially this time that we are. He implemented our money.
The Pension Directorate now has a new office in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. This is to remove the burden of pensioners having to travel to Abuja to sort out their issues.
We are using this opportunity to talk to the pensioners wherever they are, the pension unions, relations of pensioners, to please request for the pensioners to try and confirm their liveness. We have a mobile team right now in Kwara going round to take care of bedridden pensioners, pensioners who are infirm, who cannot get those things done.
He has made a big relief for our old pensioners. For those of us that are working in the pension department, at least we have enough time, at least to even rest a little bit. Because we receive several complaints. And having this office here, I think it is our job.
The Kwara State office is the second in the North Central Zone. Ibrahim Alege, TVC News, Ilorin.
We'll return with more after this break. Stay with us, everyone.
Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call permanent solutions.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe it's achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some
TVC News Weekend lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint with Precious Amayo. Newsweek with Mark Otabo. Politics on Sunday with Femi Akonde. Community Forum with Sarah Yeku. Get ready for the biggest stories, fresh perspectives and burning news discussions that round up the weekend. Only on TVC News.
I'm Miriam Lunge. I'm a passionate environment advocate and a published author.
I am the founder of Celebration, a businesswoman and a fashion icon.
I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer.
I am Amako Arakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Barkamu da warhaka. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.
I am a polymath and a serial entrepreneur.
I am Murayo Afolabi Brown, Managing Director, TVC Entertainment. I'm a media consultant, producer, and broadcaster.
The ladies of your view are made of women from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
And now to some news coming in from the Pan-Igbo Social Cultural Organization, Ohanaze Ndigbo. They actually praising the Igbo community in the southeast for standing together and avoiding the recent nationwide protests. According to Ohanaze's Secretary General, Mazi Okechukwu Izuguzoro, the Igbo people have shown remarkable unity and resilience in the face of external pressures. They're proud that the southeast region resisted attempts to use them for selfish political agenda. Ohanaze says this boycott is a testament to the newfound sense of unity among the Igbo people who are determined to put an end to exploitation by certain unpatriotic elements and privileged elites. From yesterday, day one of the nationwide protest, we reported that violence had erupted in 8 states across the country. But we found out that the protest actually didn't quite happen in any of the states in the southeast. As the ongoing protest also entered day 2, normal business activity we saw is ongoing at the Murtala Mohammed Airport here in Lagos. Flights are arriving and traveling out of Lagos, even though just few passengers can be seen in and around the terminal. We have more updates from our senior reporter, Ayomide Ajegbe.
Just few passengers are here as there is low patronage at the MMA2. Some of the airline staff didn't even bother to show up because they have no customer to attend to. Most of the passengers are not willing to grant interviews. But one of the travelers who spoke to TVC News off camera says she's traveling to Abuja to relax since her office granted them 1 week off and is indifferent about the ongoing protest.
At the airport here, there is normal business activities ongoing. There is no protest in and around the airport. Outside, there is heavy security presence and people are going about their normal businesses, even though there are just few passengers who are trying to travel. Of course, for reasons very well known. A look at some of the airlines and some of their counters you see everywhere is empty. And some of the few airlines that are traveling do not have a lot of passengers. They said they are aware that they might not have a lot of patronage for some time because of course, the ongoing protest. A lot of people are not traveling at this time. But so far, so good. Everything is chill and calm here at the local airport in Lagos. Ayomide Ajayegbe, TVC News, Lagos.
We also monitored and improved business activity in Owerri, the Imo State capital, on the second day of the protest. Today, banks and shops are open for business, unlike what happened on Monday, where commercial activities were grounded for fear of any eventuality. The Commissioner of Police in Imo State, Aboki Danjuma, who's been assessing security development, says the state is calm. So Danjuma, in an exclusive interview with TVC News, said security operatives are indeed on top of the security situation in that state. We're keeping an eye on the ongoing nationwide protest. A senior advocate of Nigeria who represents one of the group already has called for an immediate suspension of the protests and for the protesters to now come to the dialogue table and negotiate with the federal government. According to him, he did say that some fifth columnists have taken over the peaceful protest. They have infiltrated the ranks of the protesters, and that has indeed grossly derailed the laudable mission. While he expressed sympathy for the losses incurred during the protest, including the death of security personnel and protesters, as well as damage to property as we've seen in some parts of the country, he commended the protesters for their peaceful conduct in various locations across the country. He's also calling on President Bola Tinubu to directly address the nation and engage with the protesters' representatives. Mr. Adegboruwa urged the protesters to suspend their actions and give room for meaningful dialogue, warning that the protests had been hijacked by some sponsored forces and agents, which has led to losses and casualties. We are keeping an eye on this development and seeing how it all plays out in the coming days. That's our show today. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.